that we stand resolutely with Israel in defending itself against terror. And I stressed again the need to act in line with international humanitarian law and take every possible step to avoid harming civilians. It was a message delivered by a close friend and ally. I say it again, we stand with Israel. Mr. Speaker, I recognise that the Palestinian people are suffering terribly. Over 4,000 Palestinians have been killed in this conflict. They are also the victims of Hamas, who embed themselves in the civilian population. Too many lives have already been lost, and the humanitarian crisis is growing. I went to the region to address these issues directly. In Riyadh, then Cairo, I met individually with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman from Saudi Arabia, the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, President Sisi in Egypt, and President Abbas of the Palestinian Authority. These were further to my meetings with the King of Jordan last week and calls with other leaders, and my Right Honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary's extensive travel in the region. Mr. Speaker, there are three abiding messages from all of these conversations. The first is that we must continue working together to get more humanitarian support into Gaza. The whole House will welcome the limited opening of the Rafah crossing. It is important progress and testament to the power of diplomacy, but it is not enough. We need a constant stream of aid pouring in, bringing the water, food, medicine and fuel that is so desperately needed. So we will keep up the diplomatic pressure. We have already committed £10 million of extra support to help civilians in Gaza. And Mr. Speaker, I can announce today that we are going further. We are providing an additional £20 million of humanitarian aid to civilians in Gaza, more than doubling our previous support to the Palestinian people. There are major logistical and political challenges to delivering this aid, which I discussed with President Sisi. My Right Honourable friend, the Development Minister, is leading an effort to ensure the maximum amount of aid is pre-positioned with UK support ready to deliver. We're also working intensively to ensure that British nationals trapped in Gaza are able to leave through the Rafah crossing when it properly reopens. The second message, Mr. Speaker, is that this is not a time for hyperbole and simplistic solutions. It is a time for quiet and dogged diplomacy that recognises the hard realities on the ground and delivers help now. And we have an important role to play. In all of my meetings, people were clear that they value Britain's engagement. The UK's voice matters. We have deep ties across the region, ties of defence, trade and investment, but also of history. President Abbas pointed to that history, not the British mandate in Palestine or the Balfour Declaration, but the UK's efforts over decades to support the two-state solution. And that brings me to my third point, Mr. Speaker. Growing attacks by Hezbollah on Israel's northern border, rising tensions on the West Bank, and missiles and drones launched from Yemen show that some are seeking escalation. So we need to invest more deeply in regional stability and in the two-state solution. Last night I spoke to the leaders of the United States, Germany, France, Italy and Canada. We are all determined to prevent escalation. That's why I'm deploying RAF and Royal Navy assets, monitoring threats to regional security and supporting humanitarian efforts. Mr. Speaker, our support for a two-state solution is highly valued across the region. But it can't just be a cliched talking point to roll out at times like this. The truth is that in recent years, energy has moved into other avenues like the Abraham Accords and normalisation talks with Saudi Arabia. We support those steps, absolutely, and believe that they can bolster wider efforts. But we must never lose sight of how essential the two-state solution is. So we'll work together with our international partners to bring renewed energy and creativity to this effort. It will rely on establishing more effective governance for Palestinian territories in Gaza and the West Bank. It will also mean challenging actions that undercut legitimate aspirations for Palestinian statehood.